The world sees the United States of America as the leader of gun culture and ownership, where people are gung-ho about those scary black rifles or the shoulder things that go up. But any gun owner can tell you that, depending on what state you live in, that stereotype rings true or falls flat quickly when you dig into the state's gun laws. It is very hard to pass any gun legislation federally, but at the state level, you have both pro and anti-gun bills passed into law that, over time, create vast differences between individual states that are observed today by gun owners who live in them. So that's why I'm here to rank every single state and territory of the United States on how gun-friendly they are from worst to best, excluding reservations, as a lot of them only have minor differences and could honestly be their own smaller video. And if you can't already tell, this is a video for people with a pro-gun perspective, so don't get mad when I dunk on gun control. This will be a combination of a countdown and a tier list based on categories on how I and a lot of others perceive states of similar stature. Let's go over the tiers quickly. Vilified is for places that are hell-bent on restrictions on gun ownership, making it their duty to come up with new ways to reinforce their already strict stance on firearms. Hated is for states or territories that have a multitude of restrictions and are vying for more of them, but it isn't their focus as of this moment, or are stuck in the mud with legal fights. Mixed are reserved for states that have pretty alright laws on the books, but are either stuck in limbo with furthering restrictions or furthering gun rights. Most of these picks are either on the cusp of entering into the hated or liked tiers. Liked states that have great laws but don't go out of their way to champion gun rights, either from a lack of caring or a roadblock in repealing anti-gun or passing pro-gun legislation. However, they are still on track to be idolized by gun owners one day. Lastly, the idolized tiers for the places with as few restrictions as humanly possible. Incredible states that, as you go further to the number one spot, exceed people's expectations of what is possible to do at the state level for making gun owners as comfortable as possible. You can potentially argue that any of the states in this tier are top 5, so it's gonna get pretty opinionated when we reach this section. I will also try not to repeat myself too much, so that may end up with me glancing past your state if it's too similar to another's legislation. This is just to cut the fat of the video so it doesn't become an incredibly long video like it's already shaping out to be. With that all out of the way, let's begin. Vilified. Number 56. American Samoa. This placement came as a complete shock to me when I first started reading up on the US territory's gun laws. American Samoa has a mishmash of the common restrictions you'd expect, like gun registration and licenses to possess and purchase firearms. But what makes it earn the dead last spot? Oh, just its complete ban on handguns and any gun that shoots a center fire cartridge. Yes, you heard me right. The only few exceptions are a couple of shot shell calibers and .22. That effectively leaves your firearm choice to a pump shotgun or a bolt action .22. This is as hostile as it gets in the United States and deserves its placement 1,000 times over. But hey, at least they don't have a standard capacity magazine ban. Number 55. US Virgin Islands. The US Virgin Islands has everything a gun control activist could ask for. An overtly complicated licensing system to purchase a firearm, a ban on open carry, a so-called assault weapons ban, a standard capacity magazine ban, and having to register your firearms to the local police. Number 54. Washington, D.C. The nation's capital is plagued with every type of gun control you can think of, making it the worst place for gun owners in the lower 48. The most egregious thing that D.C. does is that they won't allow the sale of a gun to the owner until they deem it not an assault weapon on a case-by-case basis. Number 53. California. Probably what most people thought of first when thinking of a hostile state towards the Second Amendment. Assault weapon bans, magazine bans, red flag laws, waiting periods, you name it, they got it. They are the poster child for coming up with new ways to strip citizens' rights away when it comes to guns, like attempting to make every place a gun-free zone to dunk on citizens, going out of their way to obtain a CCW. Just a stinky state all around. Number 52. Massachusetts. When Boston urbanites decide the direction of the state, the outcome is what you would expect. Permits, red flag laws, magazine bans, and everything you can think of. It's just generically terrible. Not too much to say. Number 51. New York. Instead of trying to make the streets and subways safer in the Big Apple, let alone the state as a whole, they just crack down on citizens' rights with every restriction you can imagine. And if the state government forgot to regulate something even more, they encourage city governments to pick up the slack and make your life a living hell. Take New York City for example. They further restrict magazine capacity to 5 rounds for shotguns and rifles. And that's just scratching the surface of this urban hellhole of a city and a state. Number 50. Hawaii. Hawaii is a pretty terrible state for gun owners, but surprisingly doesn't have everything restricted compared to some further down on the list. So why is it here? Well, for one reason. The state government and state Supreme Court don't believe in the Second Amendment. The Aloha spirit overrides the silly amendment that guarantees the government will not infringe on rights given to us by birth. So when I see them say that, it doesn't matter to me that they have some things not restricted yet due to incompetence or laziness. Number 49. Illinois. Illinois is well known for containing one of the most dangerous cities in America, Chicago, despite having extremely restrictive gun laws. Most egregious is their FOID card or their version of a gun license. And before a couple of you brain-dead anti-gunners who are still watching this say this is all Indiana's fault for being less restrictive, go watch my gun iceberg video to show you that the whole Indiana is making Illinois more dangerous shtick is easily debunkable. Number 48. Connecticut. Such a forgettable state that I almost forgot to include it in the list. Very similar to Illinois in restrictions, except you don't need a permit to own a gun, just to purchase one. Number 47. New Jersey. New Jersey is mostly a state of endless urban sprawl, so it's no surprise that it has everything you suspect. Infamously, New Jersey is championing for every gun to be a smart gun, which honestly deserves its own video going over the sneaky new way of restricting the functions of guns. But to briefly go over a couple reasons why it's a bad idea, smart gun technology as of now will never be as reliable as a pistol that goes pew, no matter how humid the conditions are, and requiring batteries to run is just an awful idea, let alone that some of the proposed smart gun technology in the future is a little bit creepy. Number 46. Washington. This line used to sum up the state of Washington pretty well for a while.
Well, it's none of our concern what goes on beyond our borders. Keep your nose out of trouble, and no trouble will come to you.
It was a left-leaning state, but they honestly didn't care too much about what citizens did as long as it didn't hurt anybody, and it was like that for a while. But times have changed. The cities got progressively worse, and the state's gun laws went down the gutter in a decade. A standard magazine ban in 2022 was quickly followed up with a so-called assault weapons ban in 2023. Such a shame because this state is pretty darn beautiful, and it used to be the best left-leaning state in the country in my right-wing opinion. If it had great gun laws, I could see myself settling in the Cascade Mountain range. Number 45. Maryland. Magazine capacity restrictions, assault weapon bans, a license to purchase a handgun, and a permit are required to open or conceal carry it. Though it doesn't restrict NFA items or long gun open carry, it's just another terrible state for gun owners. Number 44. Delaware. Assault weapon bans, magazine bans, and red flag laws, but no registry or license to buy any other gun, making it the best vilified state hands down. Just a vanilla flavor of bad. Hated. Number 43. Northern Mariana Islands. The Northern Mariana Islands is a good example of what the hated section is all about. Bad gun laws combined with a couple of good things they forgot to regulate. They got magazine bans but no assault weapon bans, a permit to purchase a gun but you don't have to register individual guns. Just a hodgepodge of good and bad, but the bad still outweighs the good. Number 42. Guam. A lot of tourists from Asia come to private gun ranges located in Guam, making it a pretty nice way for people to get first-hand experience of what it's like to fire a gun. Owning a gun in Guam, however, is a more restrictive endeavor. FOID card like Illinois is required to open carry, purchase, and possess a gun. You also have to register your firearms. However, there are no assault weapon bans or magazine bans, but there are bans on most NFA items. So in conclusion, Guam likes gun tourism, but not gun ownership. Number 41. Puerto Rico. The last territory on the list, Puerto Rico is the least terrible. Very similar to Guam, the main difference is that you only need a license to possess a gun, but not to purchase one. The possession license also doubles as a carry permit. Number 40. Colorado. Used to be seen as the state that as long as you don't bother anyone else, no one will bother you. Basically a carbon copy of Washington State. Colorado is ramping up its gun control machine as I'm making this video. They already have red flag laws and magazine bans, but are looking to expand more into totalitarian bills like assault weapons bans and other shit. And that's why it's at the number 40 spot. Number 39. Vermont. Vermont is probably seen as one of the oddest states. Heck, they even have a senator who is an odd outsider, even with the fellow people he caucuses with. This translates into its gun legislation as well. For anti-gun legislation, we have standard capacity magazine bans, red flag laws, safe storage laws, waiting periods, and a couple others. But somehow, they have no semi-auto bans, and surprisingly, they have constitutional carry. If you don't know what constitutional carry is, it allows any person who legally owns a firearm to carry it concealed or openly without a permit. But in conclusion, Vermont is bad, just oddly bad. Number 38. Minnesota. Ah, the land of the FUD. Minnesota has okay laws dragged down by a permitting system, makes this state uncomfortable for most gun-owning residents. Number 37. Oregon. Oregon really feels like two different states, the rural dry east where guns are an everyday part of life, and the urbanized wet west where it isn't. So when it comes to gun control being introduced by legislators or ballot measures that always get passed, it further alienates the already distant feeling relationship the rural people have in their state. That's created a lot of lawsuits, protests, and even suggestions for rural counties to join Idaho over these gun control proposals. So in conclusion, when you mix gun control that pisses off rural folk with radical judges that allow crime to pour into the streets of cities like Portland, it's no wonder why Oregon is going down the gutter. Number 36. Virginia. This state has dodged a lot of bullets when it's come to gun control. Right before the big event in 2020, Virginia was in the spotlight due to one of the biggest pro-gun protests of my lifetime against incoming gun control bills. That protest was kind of a minor success. They still passed a bunch of garbage, but held off on assault weapon bans or magazine bans. Currently, the only thing holding up assault weapons bans or magazine bans is the current governor, Glenn Youngkin. He vetoes them any chance he gets. But as his term reaches its conclusion, the future of Virginia's semi-loose gun restrictions looks bleak, to be honest. Number 35. Rhode Island. I haven't heard a lot of bad or good things when it's come to gun legislation in Rhode Island, and I was pretty stoked to see it isn't all that bad. Just one problem. Looking at the legislative makeup, this ain't lasting for long. Another New England failure is upon us. Mixed. Number 34. New Mexico. New Mexico is a reliably blue state, and its current state of gun laws is very similar to Washington's from a few years back. No assault weapons bans, no magazine bans, a permit to conceal carry, and gun grabbers in every electable office. The only reason there haven't been any more restrictions is seemingly due to a lot of New Mexico's residents protesting en masse every time the gun-grabbing state legislators propose the usual shit. And to my shock, this actually seems to work a lot. Still, a lot of battles are ahead for New Mexico gun owners that look pretty bleak, but I'm sure they'll keep on fighting for our rights. Number 33. Michigan. Michigan is on par with New Mexico, but is more stagnant. They have a red flag law, a license required to purchase firearms, and a permit to conceal carry, but everything else is untouched. It really is a mixed bag, but it is less likely to go further south than New Mexico. Number 32. Nevada. How Nevada has survived this long without a lot of gun control being passed is actual luck. Don't get me wrong, they still suck. They still have no constitutional carry, banning private sales without a background check, and red flag laws. But other than that, they're squeaky clean, and with a new governor in town that keeps rejecting awful gun control bills, maybe the House will be stacked in Nevada gun owners' favor. Number 31. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is very reminiscent of how most states used to be 10 to 20 years ago. No restrictions and no red flag laws, but a requirement for a permit to conceal carry. Pennsylvania has flirted with more gun control than gun rights, but either side has yet to gain a foothold due to the gridlock in the state's legislative and executive branches. Just a very mid-state for gun owners. Number 30. Wisconsin. Almost an exact copy of Pennsylvania, but equally as stagnant due to in parts of how split down the middle this state is when it comes to politics, and rarely anything gets passed at all without bipartisanship. I honestly don't know which way this state is trending towards, and is likely going to stick in this limbo type state for the distant future. Number 29. Maine. Maine has a lot of great things going for it, no magazine restrictions, no gun bans, and even constitutional carry. All around a decent state, until recent events that caused red flag laws and regulations on private sales to make the state turn around and start sailing in the other direction. Not helping that the state is getting more blue voters from the rest of New England flocking there, so it's a matter of time before things get way worse, and that's why it ranks near the middle of this list. Number 28. Nebraska. I was actually surprised Nebraska wasn't as pro-gun as I assumed, but that's on me. They recently passed constitutional carry in 2023, have no restrictions on magazines or semi-automatic weapons, no red flag laws, etc. However, two things knock it considerably down from being a great state. Number 1. They restrict destructive device ownership that is allowed under the NFA, and most importantly, number 2, you must have a permit to buy a handgun. I have no idea this was a thing in Nebraska, and that's the main reason it got the 28th spot on the list. Number 27. North Carolina. North Carolina has slowly moved towards a more friendly stance towards gun ownership. They recently axed the requirement to have a permit to purchase a pistol, placed no previous or current bans on any types of rifles or magazines, and have flirted around passing constitutional carry. However, the state is still pretty split down the middle, with Republicans controlling the General Assembly and the Democrats installing a governor that vetoes a lot of pro-gun legislation. Liked. Number 26. Florida. Yes, I'm aware that Florida has terrible legislation like no open carry, despite allowing concealed carry without a permit, waiting periods, and a lot more. But a lot of you know, this state is rapidly changing for the better. The demographic changes favoring Republicans that over time have been favoring more pro-gun stances than stagnating FUD legislation. If the cards are played correctly, this state could become a juggernaut for liberty that might rightfully overtake Texas's stereotype as the gun-toting state. Number 25. Indiana. In my original script and audio recording, I had a lot of good things to say about Indiana. Just a couple of nitpicks. For example, they took their sweet-ass time passing constitutional carry. Still, I thought it was a state with ambitions to shine as a beacon of what a pro-gun state should look like. But as I was double-checking a lot of my information, I noticed that Indiana has a red flag law dubbed Jake Lurd's Law. This red flag law has been in effect since 2005, over 2 decades. That alone places it further down the list because red flag laws, by definition, are take the guns first, due process later. If Indiana wants to be taken even more seriously, repeal the law. And I don't mean clarify or rewrite it, no, trash it and move on. Number 24, Iowa. Iowa has pretty good laws on the books right now. No assault weapons bans or any of the usual suspects, but they outright ban a couple of NFA items like machine guns and destructive devices, so that's why I knocked it down a couple of places, thus landing at the 24th spot. Number 23, Georgia. The modern swing state, Georgia is very split between the metro Atlanta and everywhere else. It has some incredible laws and it could honestly be put in the top 20. The only reason I have it this low on the list is that if it swings harder towards the left-hand side of the political aisle in the governor and local races, it can reverse all the goodwill it has attained with law-abiding gun owners. The senators of Georgia prove my point, sadly. Number 22. Ohio. Ohio is a very underrated state when it comes to gun laws. The reason it's 22nd on the list is that it's not really special in any outstanding way compared to other states. Another nitpick is that they didn't adopt a Second Amendment sanctuary law statewide, which to a lot of people is a nice symbolic gesture in support for gun rights. These nitpicks don't make it an awful state when it comes to gun rights, just the opposite. In my opinion, they just need to keep on the path they are rightfully heading on. Number 21. Kentucky. Another controversial placement. Kentucky on paper is a top 10 state. So what gives, Wubba Bubba? Did you have a bad experience with Colonel Sanders? Nope. There is one and only one reason why I ranked them just outside the top 20. Andy Beshear. He will veto anything that comes to his desk if it even includes a sniff of a significant expansion of gun rights given to us by our creator. However, legislators can just override his veto with sheer votes and just ignore him, but wouldn't it be nice to have the figurehead of your state to back you up? Just some food for thought to my Kentucky viewers. Idolized. Before I get into the top 20 states that fill the idolized tier, it should be said that any one of these states could honestly be argued number 1. You could probably also argue a couple in liked too. They all have constitutional carry, no red flag laws, no weapon or magazine bans, promote gun ownership, and even push some of the boundaries of what it being a pro-gun state is. They are all winners in my books, but it wouldn't be a ranking if I didn't try and nitpick to see which one is at the top. So without further delay, number 20, Louisiana. Comes in at the bottom 20 since it took a bit too long to get constitutional carry, so hopefully it doesn't mean that future pro-gun legislation will get bogged down. Number 19, Utah. Very pro-gun, however some Republican legislators federally tend to be moderates and may compromise on gun legislation, but at the state level that hasn't really manifested. Keep an eye out for that, Utah residents, because you've got a good thing going. Number 18, Alabama. It's a really good state, but recent controversy knocked it down a couple of places since the FUD governor banned Glock switches that were already illegal before signing the bill. So what, are they now double illegal? The point is, if criminals already abuse these landfilled plastic devices, why restrict law-abiding citizens from easily accessing them too? Just an unnecessary law all around. Number 17, North Dakota. The more boring of the two Dakotas, still 1,000 times better than a lot of New England states. It has decent gun laws. My biggest nitpick is that they had constitutional carry since 2017, but only for citizens of the state, so it wasn't really constitutional carry. It's a good thing they changed it to the real deal in 2023. Number 16, Oklahoma. It's got a panhandle and good laws and okay, I'm already running out of things to nitpick. A lot of the states in the idolized category are extremely similar in a good way. So I'm going to speedrun a couple of these to get to more interesting commentary on states that I personally classify as hot gun heaven. Grab yourself a snack and a glass of orange juice because here we go! Number 15, South Carolina. The more base Carolina in every metric. Number 14, Tennessee. Every gun company wants to be here since it's a great state for business and firearms. Number 13, Mississippi. Boring state, great gun laws. Number 12, Kansas. They have a certain law on the books that I'm not sure if I can speak about on YouTube that puts it up pretty high. Number 11, Arkansas. The Kansas of Texas makes sense to me. Number 10, Missouri. The biggest problem is that the state has dangerous blue cities. It's a good thing that the state itself is passing fantastic gun laws to counter them in almost every legislative session. Number 9, Arizona. It was a pro-gun state before it was cool. Now it's a swing state. Don't screw it up, voters. Number 8, South Dakota. Best known for the Corn Palace and Wall Drug. Beautiful state too. Almost no downsides whatsoever. Okay, now we're gonna slow down a little bit with the last 7 on this list, since I have a lot more to say about these guys. Number 7, West Virginia. If you're a politician running in West Virginia and you don't like coal or guns, you're not going to win. Hunting is key to a lot of people's lives, especially West Virginians who rely on it to get by in an economically bleak environment. So if you say you want to restrict a tool used to put food on the table, you come off as an asshole. And that's just one of the myriad of reasons why they have such fantastic gun laws. Number 6. Texas. If I made this video 2 to 4 years ago, I would be tempted to put Texas at the bottom of idolized. The state was seeing such an influx of urban Californians moving into the urban city centers that I thought Texas was going to change into another California, like Colorado and Washington already have. Top that off with Beto O'Rourke being an actual threat to gun rights if elected. It was a dark time. But come the 2024 election, all that hard work propped up by a certain party was swept away, and Texas is as stable when it comes to gun rights as smaller red states. Yes, I was one of the people who thought Texas was overrated and was slow with some pro-gun legislation being passed, but I can say now that Texas lives up to its stereotypes, and that scares the shit out of tyrants. Number 5. New Hampshire. Honestly, probably pissing off a lot of people for not putting this state at number 1. And I don't blame you. Its motto, live free or die, rings true. Most pro-gun legislation you've ever heard of was passed here before you even heard about it. So why is this in the number 5 spot? The more urban states of New England are getting too expensive, and New Hampshire is a no-brainer in that aspect. They, however, bring their politics into the state, which has caused a couple of close calls. I remember reading a comment on a ranking video that said along the lines, New Hampshire is so pro-gun that the governor just repeals any anti-gun bill to his desk. Sorry, but that's something you shouldn't be bragging about. It's gotten better in state elections, but at the federal level, they elect a lot of left-leaning politicians who don't have a great track record. Although, as of now, New Hampshire is an incredible state with fantastic landscapes and gun laws. Number 4. Alaska. Alaska is a very weird state, politically and geographically. However, gun control is not as debated of a subject as it is in other states, because most Alaskans need firearms to survive their day-to-day lives. From the dangerous hoods of Anchorage to the number of animals that see you as a trespasser, it's no joke why a majority of their citizens are active gun owners who appreciate the very lax laws in the last frontier. Number 3. Montana. Do you remember that clip I played for Washington? Well, currently, that clip fits Montana like a glove. It can feel a little bit like Colorado if you know what I'm saying, but a lot of the residents believe as long as you're not harming anyone, who cares? I know a lot of you are skeptical of sayings like that or believe they are just a crock of shit. I don't blame you. But Montana has been like this for a while, and I don't see it changing anytime soon, which is great because Montana has some of the best gun legislation on the books. Number 2. Idaho. I'm going to be honest. This pick is biased. This state is never really the first state to pass groundbreaking legislation, but does eventually pass it. So what makes this state so special that it deserves to be put over New Hampshire? One word: immigration. Citizens immigrating to Idaho to flee their awful states have become a mixed bag with locals, myself included. But one thing is sure, if you ask someone for the reason why they packed up their bags, 9 out of 10 times they bring up gun laws as an example. All the rural counties, suburbs, and cities in Idaho are extremely pro-gun. Everyone carries a gun. If you aren't pro-gun or at least pretend you're pro-gun in Idaho, you won't win any type of political office. And for the couple of enclaves in Idaho that try to instigate a vote for the tiniest gun safety legislation, they are promptly swept away. The gem state really is a gem, and it's almost an open secret of how awesome Idaho is. Number 1. Wyoming. Before researching this video, I assumed Wyoming was number 1, and yeah, it's number 1. No matter how unpopular some pro-gun bills seem to other politicians in the country, Wyoming representatives really don't give a shit and just pass it. Wyoming is always coming up with ways to further gun rights that most don't even think about. The state genuinely gets "shall not be infringed" means "shall not be infringed." They are unofficially called the Cowboy State for a good reason. The small state has the most enthusiastic gun owners I've seen in person and online. The only thing I can say negative about the state is good luck getting property in the scenic areas for a cheap price. Other than that, they deserve a lot more praise than they get as of now, and are rightfully placed at the #1 state for gun owners in the United States of America. Thank you for watching this video, I appreciate it. This project took longer than I thought, so thanks for being patient. As long as people keep watching these videos, I'm going to keep making them. Until next time, this is Wubba Bubba, signing off again.